Absolutely. Here is the same English news report again, formatted clearly for reading aloud. Hack Chatgpt News Report, 10-minute English edition. Wednesday, 19th of August, 2026. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Chatgpt News Report. Today, we'll take a look at the major stories from Malaysia, Singapore, Taiwan, Asia, and around the world. Malaysia, tax reform. Back in the spotlight, we begin in Malaysia. The government is once again looking at possible reforms to the country's consumption tax system. Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim has said the government is studying ways to make the tax system more efficient and sustainable. This has naturally brought back memories of GST, or Goods and Services Tax, which was abolished in 2018 and replaced by the current SST system. The government's argument is straightforward. Malaysia needs a stronger and more stable source of government revenue. But for ordinary Malaysians, the question is equally straightforward. Open quote, will this make my daily life more expensive? Close quote, that is likely to become an important political issue if the government moves towards a broader consumption tax system. Fuel prices. There is also some better news for Malaysian motorists. Non-subsidized fuel prices have been reduced this week. RON 97 is now around RM4.50 per liter, while other fuel prices have also been adjusted. For Malaysians who drive every day, even a small reduction can make a difference. But the bigger question remains: how will Malaysia balance subsidies, government spending, and the cost of living? Malaysia faces Vietnam. Now to sports. Malaysia faces Vietnam tonight in the ASEAN Hyundai Cup semifinal second leg. This is a huge match because the winner will advance to the final. Malaysia will be hoping to put in a strong performance and book a place in the championship match. Meanwhile, Singapore's campaign has already come to an end. Singapore. Lions bow out. Singapore defeated Thailand 2-1 in the second leg. However, Thailand won the tie 4-3 on aggregate, meaning Singapore have been eliminated. So although Singapore won the second match, Thailand's advantage from the first leg was enough to send them through to the final. For Singapore, it is disappointing, but the team can still take confidence from the performance. Singapore and India strengthen cooperation. Moving on to diplomacy, Singapore and India are continuing to strengthen their economic relationship. The two countries are discussing areas including trade, investment, advanced manufacturing, digitalization, emerging technologies. For Singapore, maintaining strong relationships with multiple major economies is extremely important. Singapore is a small country, so it has traditionally pursued a strategy of working with many different partners rather than relying on just one major power. Taiwan, record defense spending. Now we move to Taiwan. Taiwan President Lai Ching-te has announced plans for a major increase in defense spending. Taiwan's proposed 2027 defense budget is expected to exceed $1 trillion, or more than 3% of GDP. The government describes this spending as an open quote, investment in peace, close quote. The money is intended to strengthen Taiwan's defense capabilities, including air defense, drones, submarines, military resilience, indigenous defense production. Taiwan says the increase is necessary because of growing military pressure from China. Taiwan's budget finally passes. Another major political story from Taiwan concerns the national budget. After months of political disagreement between the government and opposition-controlled legislature, Taiwan's annual central government budget has finally passed. The opposition parties had demanded changes and reductions to government spending. However, major defense-related programs, including a large drone program, were retained. This highlights a difficult political balance. The government wants to spend more on national security, but the opposition wants stronger legislative scrutiny of government spending. The challenge is finding a balance between effective oversight and avoiding long delays in government operations. China and South Korea. Now to East Asian diplomacy. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi is visiting South Korea on August 19th and 20th. The visit is particularly significant because it is his first formal visit to South Korea in several years. He is expected to meet South Korean President Lee Jae-myung. The two sides are expected to discuss China-South Korea relations, trade, regional security, North Korea, the wider situation in East Asia. This is important because China, South Korea, Japan, the United States, and Taiwan are all closely connected economically and strategically. Shatter Indonesia, major earthquake. Now to Indonesia. Indonesia has experienced a major earthquake with reports of significant casualties and continuing rescue operations. Indonesia is located along the Pacific Ring of Fire, one of the world's most seismically active regions. Authorities and rescue teams are continuing to assess the damage and provide assistance to affected communities. Russia-Ukraine war. Now to the war in Ukraine. The Russia-Ukraine conflict continues to involve intense drone warfare. Ukraine has carried out large-scale drone attacks against targets in Russia, while Russia continues to launch attacks against Ukraine. The increasing use of drones demonstrates how modern warfare is changing. Instead of relying only on traditional aircraft and missiles, both sides are increasingly using drones, electronic warfare, and long-range strikes. This has become one of the defining features of the conflict. Finally, we turn to the Middle East. Uncertainty surrounding the situation between the United States and Iran has once again affected energy markets. Oil prices have risen sharply, with concerns about the security of energy supplies. And why does this matter to people in Malaysia, Singapore, and Taiwan? Because higher oil prices, higher transport costs, higher production costs, potentially higher consumer prices. So an international conflict thousands of kilometers away can eventually affect the price of petrol, food, and everyday goods in Southeast Asia. Today's news summary. Let's quickly recap today's major stories. Malaysia, the government is examining possible reforms to the consumption tax system. Singapore, Singapore's football team has been eliminated from the ASEAN competition, while Singapore and India continue strengthening economic cooperation. Taiwan, defense spending is set to rise significantly, while the long-delayed national budget has finally passed. China-South Korea, Foreign Minister Wang Yi is visiting Seoul for talks on bilateral relations and regional security. Indonesia, a major earthquake has triggered rescue and relief operations. Russia-Ukraine, drone attacks continue to play a major role in the war. Middle East tensions are putting renewed pressure on global energy markets. And that's all for today's Chatgpt News Report. Thank you for watching. I'm Chatgpt, and we'll bring you another update tomorrow. Goodbye, everyone, and have a great day. Of course, I can speak more slowly, with short sentences and clear pauses. For example, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Chatgpt News Report. Today, we will take a look at the major stories from Malaysia, Singapore, Taiwan, Asia, and around the world. I can also make the whole 10-minute news report into a slow English reading version with pause marks and easy pronunciation so you can practice your English.